You here, Dean? Can
Yes,
we
I am.
Because I'd love to
Yes.
see what's going on in the heavens and the stars, as usual, and all of that. And what's going on with Pluto? I keep wanting to know about Pluto. I don't know why.
Well, can you see the image behind me?
Yeah.
Pluto is part of that big line of planets that's been going on all year, and things are really coming to a head in that, you know, over the course of the year, like Jupiter went over Pluto, and I mean, they've all been more or less lined up, but they line up exactly with different ones on different days. And that when they are exact, then it's the end of the old cycle and a new one begins. And these are major, major cycles because it's so many planets lining up, which is very rare. So the last one of the lineups is the two biggest planets, Jupiter and Saturn, happens on the solstice. So this is when it lined up with Jupiter and Saturn lined up with the sun on election day. We talked about that. But now they will line up exactly with the Earth on the solstice, which is a couple more weeks. Exactly, I think. And so that's really when our whole, we've talked about this before, when our whole belief system is changing. Like right now, half the country thinks like one person's going to be president and the other half of the country thinks the other person's going to be president.
Interesting times.
So this is what I'm talking about. This is two huge planets and they're lining up, and it's like, well, one of those belief systems is going to come to an end somewhere around the solstice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the problem is, I should share my screen with you. There's so many planets lining up. Oh, wait, I don't have it. I don't know what happened to it.
So that image behind you, is that an actual image of how they're lining up, or is that an estimation?
That is the way they are lining up, except they're much farther apart than that.
Wow. So they're pretty much in that line.
They are in that line, and
yeah,
it's exact. The Earth, Jupiter, and Saturn is exact on the solstice, and this only happens. This is the first time it's happened in about 800 years that they are not only lined up with each other, they're lined up with each other both by latitude and longitude. So in other words, sometimes one planet will go past another, but it's like higher in the sky or lower in the sky. But this time, Jupiter and Saturn line up in the exact same plane. Because sometimes they're slightly skewed to each other. You know what I mean? And right this time they're not. They're going to go directly, and that's what creates something that looks like a double star. I mean, it just imagine how bright Jupiter is and add how bright Saturn is to it. It looks like one star. And some people think that when the three wise men, remember those guys about 2,000 years ago?
Yeah.
The Magi, they were following the star to the birth of Christ. Some people think that story of following the star was it was so bright because it was Jupiter and Saturn lined up together so close that it seemed like one star. So that's what we're getting on the solstice. Obviously, tremendous things are shifting, and whatever happens with the resolution of the election, there's going to be half the people are going to be pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
all those beliefs being shattered, you know, whichever one it is, I have no idea. I just know there's a big paradigm shift happening really soon. We're in it. And so let me tell you about some of the other alignments. Let me share my screen with you. And because this is a remarkable chart right now, and it's building up to a new moon in about 6 days, and then the solstice in about 2 weeks. But let me just show you all these conjunctions where cycles are coming to an end. Can you see my cursor here?
Yeah.
I can't. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, continue anyway.
That's in the picture behind me is the Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and there's also an asteroid there, Pallas Athena. And that cycle's coming to an end on the 21st. Jupiter's finally going past Saturn, the biggest part of the cycle. And then at the same time, Mercury's lining up with the sun over here, and they will be exact somewhere around the new moon, maybe 6 or 7 days. And then Venus is lining up with one of the largest asteroids, Juno. Venus, it's like love and marriage, like Venus is love and Juno is marriage. So it means a relationship commitment, because Venus is relationships and Venus is commitments or partnerships. So a relationship commitment is coming to an end and a new one is beginning. So what could that mean? Maybe some people are breaking up right now. What?
Lots of divorces, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me give you another example. Sometimes I always say, I refer to Venus as the planet of money. And people always ask me, why are you saying that? And it's because money is a transaction between people. And it's basically saying, you know, if you go to a restaurant, oh, I love the food at that Chinese restaurant there. And you go there and you eat it and then you give them money. It's because you love the food. You go there and give them money. And so it's a relationship. Oh, I love what you just did for me, or I like what you did. Thank you. Here's some money. You don't, it's an expression of gratitude. And so, and if you tip somebody, for example, boy, there's even more gratitude. And so it's a relationship between people. And we, you know, when we do the gratitude thing, it's always we touch our heart, something like that. And gratitude is often in our culture can be expressed with money. In fact, tons of people are going to get money for Christmas this year.
Yay.
Hopefully me.
It's
Yay.
right on target to me. I love that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to give you a good example of this. We could say money commitments are going to end and begin. And I'll just give you a universal example. Like in Congress right now, there's a whole lot of like what they call COVID relief money that is being voted on in various combinations with other bribes and blackmails and things that go into making a bill. And so they're up against some deadlines because the government's commitment or agreement to cover, for example, not allow evictions or to cover unemployment or these various things, some of them end right as this Venus-Juno cycle is ending. It's a commitment of paying money. In other words, you know, some people are getting unemployment, some parts of that ran out. And so it has to do with all these commitments. Some already ran out, some are about to run out, and they're going to make another commitment. Will that commitment include, you know, $300 a week unemployment for how many weeks, aid to the states, you can't sue anybody that hurt you, or those kinds of things. Those are parts of the deal. Those are agreements that they're trying to make. And so it's those Venus, it's these people that like this and these people that like that. And they're trying to marry those things that they each like together into a bill. So that's one of the most important things going on in the world right now is how much money is going to pour into various people's bank accounts? Will there be another $1,200 stimulus check? Those are money commitments that may or may not be made. That should all happen around the time this Venus, your Juno cycle ends and the new one begins, because there'll be a new set of agreements. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's kind of on a world level, but and does it also translate into your personal life and your personal
Yes.
relationships? Yeah.
Yeah, for most people, there may be financial commitment issues. There may be financial agreements, like that could be a loan, borrowing money, or it could be a partnership of some kind, and that could be a business partnership, or it could be just a friendship, or it could be a romantic relationship. Usually when it gets romantic, you put Mars into the equation. You know what I mean? Venus can just be, I like a person, but Mars is more passionate.
Where is Mars?
So there's more.
How
Mars?
far is Mars?
Oh, well, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. So the other thing, Mars, do you see it up here? I've got my cursor. It's next to something that you may not have noticed before. ERI. What is that? Did I mention this before?
Is it Iris?
Eris?
Mm.
Remember we talked about Eris before? Eris is actually the sister
yeah.
of Mars.
Oh,
And in the sense that in the old days, we just said Mars is the god of war, but I always say passion, because in our personal life, it's passionate feeling, not necessarily war, but it could be. Could be lust, or it could be fighting, or, violence, whatever. But Mars is passion. And then Eris is the sister of Mars, and she was the goddess of, she got jealous because she wasn't invited to a party. If you study her mythology. And so she started the Trojan War. You know what I mean? That's like poetic justice, right? So let the punishment fit the crime. And who knows how many hundreds of thousands of people perished because she didn't go to that party. So it's rejection and revenge and those kind of emotions that she's associated with. So, well, look at the election again. It's like it could start a war because one or the other candidate gets rejected.
mm-hmm.
It's really that whole story all over again.
Oh, right. Doesn't get invited to the party.
Yes,
Candidates doesn't get invited to the party.
Yeah,
But
the White House, the party at the White House.
It also had to do with Helen of Troy, though. She was taken, and then the guy, I forget what his name is, that was married to her, got pissed off and went after her, and that's what. So where is Helen in this chart? Is she around?
I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to look up Helen as far as if she's associated with. This is a mythology that I'm not that familiar with. This story, I had never heard of her before, but she is one of the newest planets in our solar system. She's as big as Pluto.
Helen of Troy was the beauty that fell in love with one of the guys, and then that's what. Besides the party, I've never heard of the party, but that's what started the Trojan War, that they went together and then they retreated. The face that launched 1,000 ships.
Yeah, so she sounds more like beauty, like Venus type character.
Yeah. I'm thinking that's where she's at, somewhere there. Venus.
So weren't we talking before, Dean, about Eris the last time it came around was during the power grabs or the land invasions that were happening Christopher Columbus times?
I think we were also talking about, if you look at the number of Eris, 23 Aries, and this, she moves really slow. She's like twice as far out as Pluto is. So 500 and some years to go around. So she's at 23 Aries all year probably. but happens to be Pluto is at 23 Capricorn right now. Those are 90 degrees from each other.
Mm.
And that tends to, again, that's a fourth of the circle. So the number 4 means to manifest,
Ah,
because 4 points makes a solid. So it's like, you could say, if you made a sentence out of this, you could say Eris, or all this fighting and jealousy energy is manifesting death, transformation, and rebirth, which is Pluto.
interesting.
You know, it's like the image of warfare. And there is a war going on right now. It's being fought in courts.
Yeah.
But when there is a final outcome, and some people think there already is, and some people don't. Again, it's a belief system.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm saying one belief system says it's this scenario is happening, another belief system says that scenario is happening. But at some point, something really does happen, because it goes from the sun. Remember, I said the alignment of Jupiter Saturn was with the sun, which means in our head there's a new reality, and everybody's head has a different reality in it. Or let's say
Is it
there's
always
two.
like that, or especially like that now?
Well, there's two different belief systems
Yeah.
that are going on, and you can choose A or B.
Mm.
Or if you are like particularly cosmic about it, you could say, well, all probable realities exist equally. And so there is a universe in which A happens, but there's also a universe in which B happens. And so depending on your belief, you'll experience the one or the other. Remember, as we talked about a week ago or so, this is like a holodeck, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, a dream world that we're co-creating. So what I'm saying is all this stuff comes to a head in that Mars lines up with Eris also around the solstice. So that cycle, like whatever that war is about, has to come to its climactic end. Like the battle over the voting machines goes to the Supreme Court. Well, actually, there was something batted down by the Supreme Court today. So some people think that was the final battle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe not. There may be one more, because there's another state that they're trying
So
to
there was something, what, by the Supreme Court? It was turned down?
the
Pennsylvania today was turned down. The Pennsylvania thing.
the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going
Yeah.
to look at this.
But did
No.
you see the thing that Texas put forward to protest against the other states?
Yeah, I saw that too. I don't know how
That was going to
turns out.
go to the Supreme Court, I think. That was a Supreme Court action too.
Yeah, so it's a few more things have to go, up and down to the Supreme Court or whatever. And there could be something actually there if somebody has a secret cache of evidence that nobody's been told about yet.
And there's the coronavirus too, and that's a war. The vaccines.
Oh
coming
yeah.
out.
This could also refer to the vaccine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does this have a period of time, like in which this is going to be going on? Does it have an end date?
Well, what it is Mars takes about 2 years to go around.
Wow.
In 2 years, Eris only goes maybe not even a degree. So
Wow.
Mars is going to come back to just about the same place. So it'll be about 2 years. So it's a 2-year cycle.
Wow.
And you could call that like an election cycle. Is every 2 years there's a major election. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the Mars cycle. It's like there's a big battle, and then, to the victor go the spoils. And then 2 years, and then there's another battle. So that's the Mars Eris cycle. You know what I mean? So we are in that critical moment of the battle where it's the final battle, because Mars will hit Eris by the solstice, and that's the end of that 2-year war cycle, and a new one begins. You know what I mean? And but at the same time, Mars is exactly lined up with Eris. Jupiter's lined up with Saturn the same like day or two. The Venus-Juno cycle ends a little bit earlier, more like on the new moon in a week. So that's so before, the first battle to be over will be in Congress when they vote some money to go somewhere. Maybe 93 million or $908 million is what they're talking about, I think, right now. So that's the first one to hit within a week. We'll see the money. And then
So that's both in the world cycle and in personal cycles.
exactly.
You weren't joking when you said people could be getting loads of money in the next week.
Well, for example, if you are one of those people that filed for unemployment, but it ran out, or the supplement ran out. In other words, there was for a while an extra $600 a week coming in, and then it changed to $300 a week, and then it changed to $0 on top of the 167. Those are the numbers, if you're familiar. And then, so a bunch of people have been like, it's all been stuck in politics because of being an election year. So it got frozen in place, and a whole bunch of people just fell off the cliff. But now everybody's hanging by a thread here. Like, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? And so then a whole bunch of money will appear in bank accounts.
That feels
literally
lovely.
millions of people will have that. But each in our own life with our own Venus, Juno, our own financial agreements, and whether there's loans or you decide to buy a car, for example, or you get married and then you put all your money together with another person. It's those kinds of things. And it's not just money, but it's feelings, because it's Venus. It could be a love commitment. It could be like a junior high school kid giving his girlfriend a St. Christopher medal. It's like a little love commitment. You know what I mean?
So what about Pluto in this whole thing? I mean, how long's Pluto hanging around?
Well, it moves very slow too.
Mm.
So Jupiter and Saturn have already moved like 4 to 6 degrees past. Those lineups happened early in the year. And so when Saturn first went over Pluto, if you remember, I was saying, oh, this is kind of like a caterpillar making a cocoon to then ultimately become a butterfly. You know what I mean? So out of the, this, when that happens, when you're the caterpillar in the cocoon, that phase is called what? Do you guys remember? Goo. It's literally called goo.
Word goo. So yes.
So we've been in goo most of
Yes.
this year. And I always think of coronavirus as goo.
Mm.
Like all this goo floating in the air, you know what I mean? That could kill you. But it's really death, transformation, and rebirth. Well, the cocoon is like the 6 feet of space and the mask and the stuff like that. You've got this protective thing so the goo can't get in or out. And then the goo ultimately becomes a butterfly.
Mm.
Well, that might, so in the narrative of, if you watch television, that's like, finally the vaccine is here. We're saved.
Right.
We're immortal again.
So how does that, I know that you translate the planets to the chakras, and
yeah.
Pluto is the 7th chakra, right?
Yeah, the crown, I'll put it up there.
Yeah. So what's your relationship with the 7th chakra? How would you describe it? What is it about? What's the function of it? What would you say about the 7th chakra? Because I want to talk about the 7th chakra today. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
So I call Pluto spirit, and you could call it death, transformation and rebirth. You could call it power, but it's our higher self. It's the part of us that dies and is reborn, comes back to life. So it's like the soul or the spirit, or you could call it God or angels. When you die, your soul goes up through the crown and leaves the body. And then when you're born, it comes back in through the crown. So it's the connection to spirit. It's the doorway to spirit. And it's our, in a way, even though it's one of the smallest planets, it's now called a dwarf planet along with Eris and Ceres, the asteroid. But it's the most powerful. When Emrys was a little kid, he used to sit next to me while I was doing astrology readings at events or in a bookstore that I worked, and he would draw pictures of people's auras, and the crown chakra was way beyond the other chakras in beauty and power, and it was like he could see them. He's clairvoyant like Christina, and he would be drawing them, and the other chakras would look like little spirals, little wheels going around. But the crown chakra would be like the Sistine ceiling or something.
Interesting.
All the stuff going on up there, that's the spiritual side. It's like heaven. It's what's really going on in the spiritual realm. So that's the paradigm shift involves Pluto. It's a spiritual belief system, ultimately. Because all these belief systems about whether, this person won or that person won, or these people can kill us if we don't stay away from them or whatever. These are all belief systems, but ultimately we're talking about on a spiritual belief system level, what is changing, and we talked about that more last week, is there's a whole other conversation going on right now in physics and in spirituality, and the merging of the two is like, and Greg Braden always talks about this kind of stuff. We watched an episode recently, which is, are we living in a virtual reality? That's kind of a new paradigm, that we don't even really exist as separate beings, although that's as old as Buddhism, at least.
Right. How new is that idea? Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, finally the West catches up with 2,500 years of history in the East. Is like, yes, guess what, folks? This is a dream world. We don't exist. You know what I mean? This is God's dream, if you want to put it in Christian terms or something. God dreamed he was split up into billions of characters. And the fun began.